Hi everyone, it's Monday, it's 12 noon in Sydney, and so it's time for us to go live. And I am going live today, and I am horizontal, and we figured out the technology from last week. So I look forward to sharing today's message with you. I am going to read chapter 6. I'm going to read parts of this from my book, So You Want to Start a Business. How's everybody feeling today? It's 12 noon. It's stunning here in Sydney, beastly hot, 33 degrees. We've got beautiful shade in our back garden, thanks to a couple of beautiful trees. I love trees. Who else loves trees? It's just divine to have nature's air conditioner taking care of us. A bit like the hello, thank you, can you hear me clearly? A bit like the ocean and how you get this lovely chill that comes off the ocean even when it's really hot. And yes, I am around the correct way. Thank you very much for letting me know. So I've just had a birthday weekend, and it's a real privilege because my birthday is always very special because my sister and I are born on the same day, and my mum we used to have these joint parties when we were little. And you know, the thing is I used to never believe that it was true, and it was only when I saw the evidence of it, when my birth certificate actually said the 15th of November, my sister's birth certificate said the 15th of November. Anyway, today, what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about, thank you, you love trees as well. Thanks, Mark, so much. So we're going to talk today about the finances. So I'm going to go to chapter 6. Maybe you already have a copy of this book. Maybe you've read chapter 6 in your own time. But chapter 6 of my So You Want to Start a Business book. And this is a terrific book for you if you have started a business and you're in the first year or two. It is really absolutely basics 101. And I'm going to go straight to chapter 6 because chapter 6 is called Your Finances. And I opened it with a quote from Mark Cuban, and he says, "Being rich is a good thing, not just in the obvious sense of benefiting you and your family, but in the broader sense. Profits are not a zero-sum game. The more you make, the more financial impact you can have." Now, the reason I chose this quote to start that is that I truly believe, and I know a lot of you listening don't get into business to make money. You get into business to help people. You get into business to be good at what you do. You get into business to have freedom, have financial choice, have flexibility, and all of those things. The truth is, we need to make money to pay ourselves, and we need to make money to have a bigger impact in the world. And one of my favorite stories about this is some years ago, there was an Australian journalist, and he was being held captive at ransom by some people in an African country. And they had been warned not to go there. Australians, and this Australian chap and his Canadian colleague were in this country, and they were kidnapped and they were held to ransom for $1 million each. And so the Australian government took a really hard line on this when they came back to help them. And they said, "We can't help you." The travel warning said, "Don't go to that country." And so the Australian government said, "You're kind of on your own." I mean, they didn't completely abandon them, but they certainly weren't going to get into helping them pay the ransom money. So the family were doing all kinds of things to raise the ransom money. Now, what actually happened was one of the Australian politicians, Bob Brown, and one of the Australian businessmen, Dick Smith, actually were able to use the resources they had, financial resources and connective resources that they had, and they were able to get in touch with the people who were then able to make the arrangements to get the ransom paid and to get these people freed. Now, making money isn't just about making money and buying a big house and a fancy car and having flash jewelry and all the things that we associate with making money. Making money can actually give us a seat at the table that allows us to be in discussions that involves us with making some of the big decisions on this planet. It allows us to make a contribution to the things that really matter to us. So when I heard that story, it really shifted my thinking about being able to be financially, more than just financially secure. I've always had a sense of being financially secure. Have I always had a lot of money? No, but I've always had a sense of being financially secure. So I think the truth is, being able to have a seat at the table amongst the decision makers, people who make money in their business, people who are generating income in their businesses, get invited onto panels that make decisions for our country and for our planet, that make decisions for some of the philanthropic things that go on in our country. You know, when we look at Tweedy Forrest, he's making amazing difference to how the Indigenous people are treated in Western Australia. There's, like we really, when you become financially, more than just financially secure, you actually have a bigger impact in the world. So now I'm just going to go into a little bit about the finances in chapter 6. We know that people start their own business for a variety and different reasons: freedom, flexibility, to make a difference. However, as we've said elsewhere in the book, being in business is also about making money. There are some who want to make a lot of money and others who are aiming to make enough money to have a comfortable lifestyle. So whatever that is, regardless, knowing what's happening with the finances is equally important as making the beautiful products or providing the amazing services that you do. Some people just love the finances, while others want to turn a blind eye or run for the hills. And I've been working recently with a wonderful client. We'll call her Sarah. And she said to me, Ingrid, I used to pick up the reports and I would look at them and I would toss them aside because I didn't know what I was looking at and I didn't know what I was looking for. Now, in just 3 short sessions with me, Sarah and I have worked through her expenses. We've looked at where all those expenses are. We've mapped out how much it costs her to run the business. We've mapped out who are the clients that she wants to work with. What does she need to charge them? And we've distilled it down to just a couple of different price points. How many does she need? What does she need to do to pay herself? And for the first time in 5 years, Sarah knows what her accounting is doing. She knows what her expenses is. She knows what her revenue needs to be. And she knows how many clients she needs. And all we had to do was have 3 sessions where we absolutely focused on that. So it's worth keeping in mind that, if we're not paying attention to the finances, it's very difficult to have a successful business. The number one reason that most businesses fail is because they run out of money. Running out of money can literally mean running out of cash, running out of actual cash, or it can mean not having enough in the bank to pay any upcoming obligations. Now, it can mean not making payroll for your team or paying some bills that for your staff or some bills for your suppliers. Running out of money can also refer to that condition where you just don't have enough money to take advantage of the opportunity for growth. And this is another thing that I see happen for people, is that they have the opportunity to grow. They know that they could, but they just don't have the resources to put into that. So just scraping by is no way to run a business, because it can leave you exhausted all the time, constantly trying to figure out where the next dollar is going to come from, where will the next amount of money come in. Getting your finances right is more than managing cash flow, although cash flow is, of course, extremely important. So in this chapter 6, we look at a number of aspects of a new business getting started, or a new business in the early years have to pay attention to in order to get their finances right. So when you have the business finances in order, you can pay the right price. You will be paid the right price for what is right for what you sell, and you will be paid on time. You won't overspend on things that are not important for running your business. You'll stay inside the rules and regulations as set out in your business and tax requirements. And so now let's have a look at a couple of the things. So the first thing to think about is the actual startup costs. What are the costs of getting started? What are the additional investments to make to grow your business or that next opportunity? How are you going to fund your startup? We also talk about this in chapter 6, and there's a number of different ways of doing that. So maybe you're in business right now and you have another job and you have another income. Maybe you've been selling off some of your possessions. Maybe you pre-sell some of your services or your products. Maybe friends and family are helping you out with some of the loans. And there's actually, we have to be very careful with that, because what happens when friends and family get involved in funding your business or helping out in your business is, do they want to have a say in how you run your business? You can use credit, but I warn very, very cautiously against credit, because how much does it cost you? Are you able to make the money that you need to pay for the credit? Maybe a bank loan, and the way loans are right now, the margins are very low, the interest rates are very low. It may be very, very difficult to pay that back. Micro loans, there's a lot of the micro banks are now actually lending different amounts of money. There's grants and from governments or other agencies. Crowdfunding, you could go to an incubator and they buy into your business. And in fact, the podcast that's coming out tomorrow is talking to a business called Trace, amazing, interesting new online concept for greenhouse and credits and green credits. And they've been part of an incubator, and they've now invested in them, and they've had a round of funding. So the next important thing, and I'm going to talk about this right now and before we close up for today, is the break-even point. It's so important to understand break-even point. Break-even point is an accounting term, but what does it mean? It means that it's the point at which where it costs you to create your product or your service, all of those costs are fully met by the amount you receive for it. That's why it's called breaking even. There's no money left over, there's no profit, but there's also no loss either. So a business needs to know what its break-even point is in order to set prices to get them there in the set time frame. So basically there's two types of costs in a business. There's fixed costs and there's variable costs. Now what that means is that the fixed costs are the costs that are going to stay the same no matter what. So I pay my phone bill, I pay my internet bill, I pay for my insurance. There's a number of those costs that are your fixed costs. Thank you very much. You love my podcast. Thank you very much. So there's one coming out every Tuesday morning in Sydney time, which is Monday afternoon in the US time, and overnight in the UK. So fixed costs are the ones that stay the same. So no matter you don't sell any products, no matter you don't make any products, those are the fixed costs in your business. The variable costs are the ones that go up and down depending on what you're doing. So if you're selling candles and you're going to sell 50 candles, then all the goods that you need to buy to make the 50 candles, that's your variable cost, because if you're going to do 100 candles, then it's going to be a different amount of money. So it's important to know what are your fixed costs and then what are your variable costs. So I think that's a really good place to leave today. It's important to understand why we want to make money in our business. So the two takeaways from today is, why is it important to make money in your business? How are you going to fund that business? And so why is that business, where does the money come in? And understanding your break-even point. And to get to the break-even point, we want to have a look at what are the costs that are a regular cost. And I just want to leave you with this thought. Understanding the finances is easier than you think. I have worked with hundreds of people over the last almost 20 years in my business, and probably 10 years prior, maybe more than that, in the corporate world, helping business managers, business owners, people understand the finances in their business. And at the end of when we get through what we get through, people say to me, Ingrid, it is absolutely easier than I thought it was going to be. It's always easier than I thought. And I think this comes from, thank you, Bridget, you are in this to make a difference, and I know the difference you are making in the world. The thing is, when we understand something and it's put into plain English, which is what I do, is I put things into plain English, I help people understand, and so many people say to me, Ingrid, it's understanding this is easier than I thought it was going to be. And the second part to this is, why is it important to understand? It's important to understand so that you make money, so that you feel good about yourself, so that you feel that you're in this, you're making a difference, and you're actually able to have a seat at the table, you're able to have the impact in the world that you want to make, that you want to be able to help future clients as well, because if you're only making enough for now, it doesn't make enough to help you help more people in the future. So if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. I am here every week live at 12 noon, 2 p.m. in New Zealand, 4 and 7 p.m. wherever you are in the US, and I look forward to any of your questions. I'm running a new program starting soon, about the finances. If you want to find out more information about that, email me, ingrid@healthynumbers.com.au. Meanwhile, let's go and make a big difference in the world.